Welcome to Project School, where we bring technology to life with practical projects and tutorials. Let's get started on this amazing adventure. Today's topic is BMI calculator. We'll code live, so you'll see every step of the process. This project will give you a great hands-on experience with React's useState hook and form handling. Let's get started. Alright, before we jump into the code, let's talk a little bit about what BMI is and why it's important. BMI stands for Body Mass Index, which is a number calculated from a person's weight and height. It's a simple way to assess whether an individual is underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese. In this project, we're going to create a BMI calculator that lets users input their weight and height and then calculates and displays their BMI along with a health message. First, let's set up our project. I'm starting with a fresh React app. If you haven't created a React app before, you can use the command npx create React app BMI calculator in your terminal. Now that we have our project set up, let's open it in our code editor. We'll start by creating a new component for our BMI calculator. In the src folder, let's create a new file named bmi.js. This will be our main component for the calculator. We've got our basic setup. Now, let's add state variables to keep track of the weight, height, BMI result, and the message. We'll use useState for this. We'll start by importing React and the useState hook. We also need to import a CSS file for styling. Let's write the initial boilerplate for our component. In this section, we're setting up our BMI component. We begin by defining the function BMI, which is a React functional component. Inside this component, we use the useState hook to manage 4 pieces of state. Weight and set weight, state for storing the user's weight. Height and set height, state for storing the user's height. BMI and set BMI, state for storing the calculated BMI. Message and set message, state for storing the health message based on the BMI value. The useState hook initializes these states with default values, 0 for weight and height, and an empty string for BMI and message. The return statement currently just displays a heading with BMI calculator, setting up the basic structure of our component. Next, let's add a form where users can input their weight and height. We'll also add 2 buttons, one for calculating the BMI and another for reloading the form. Here, we expand on the initial component by adding a form and some UI elements. Container divs and headings. The outer div with class name app and div with class name container elements are used to apply CSS styles and center the content on the page. H2 BMI calculator is the heading for our form, styled to be centered. Form element. The form element has an onSubmit handler set to the calc BMI function, which will handle the form submission. Input fields. We have 2 input fields. Weight input is used for entering weight. The value of this input is controlled by the weight state, and any change updates this state through the setWeight function. Height input is used for entering height. It works similarly to the weight input. Buttons. Submit button triggers the form submission and calls the calc BMI function. Reload button is used to reset the form. It calls the reload function when clicked, which reloads the page to clear the inputs and results. BMI and message display. After the form, we display the calculated BMI and corresponding message. H3 Your BMI shows the calculated BMI. P message shows the health message based on the BMI value. This part of the code sets up the user interface and integrates the form with the React state. The next step will be to implement the logic for calculating the BMI and handling form submissions. Now let's add the logic to calculate the BMI. We'll define a function called calcBMI that will be triggered when the form is submitted. In this section, we define the calcBMI function which calculates the BMI when the form is submitted. Prevent default form submission. Event.preventDefault prevents the default behavior of the form submission which would otherwise reload the page. Validate input values. We check if either weight or height is 0. If so, we alert the user to enter valid values. Calculate BMI. We convert height from centimeters to meters, height in cm equals height divide by 100. We then calculate BMI using the formula, weight divide the height in cm times height in cm. The calculated BMI is rounded to one decimal place and set in the BMI state. Determine and set BMI message. We use conditional statements to determine the health message based on the calculated BMI. Underweight categories: if BMI is less than 16.0 or between 16.0 and 18.5. Normal weight: if BMI is between 18.5 and 25.0. Overweight and obese categories: for BMI values above 25.0, with more specific messages for higher BMI ranges. We set the appropriate message in the message state. By the way, you might notice that I fixed a couple of small typos in the code while we were working through this section. It's always a good idea to double-check your code for any errors before running it, as even small mistakes can cause issues later on. Lastly, let's add the reload function to reset the form. This function will reload the page, clearing all inputs and results. The reload function is a simple utility to reset the form. It reloads the entire page, which clears all inputs and the calculated results, essentially giving the user a fresh start. Now, let's add some basic styling to make our app look nice. In the index.css file, you can add styles for the .app, .container, .center, .btn, and .btn outline classes. This CSS file provides basic styling for our app. .app centers the content horizontally and vertically within the viewport using Flexbox, and ensures it takes up the full height of the view, 100 VH. .container sets a fixed width for the form and centers the text within it, making it more visually appealing. .center applies text alignment to center content, making headings and other text elements appear centered. .btn styles the primary button with a green background, white text, padding for better clickability, and some margin for spacing. .btn outline styles the secondary button with an outlined border and a white background, offering a different look from the primary button while maintaining the green color theme. For the complete code, including both the React component and CSS, visit our project page at www.projectchool.dev. There, you can find the full source code and additional resources to help you with your projects. In this section, we bring everything together by integrating the BMI calculator into the main app component. The app component serves as the root of our application. Inside it, we render the BMI component within a div. We import the BMI component and the main CSS file to use them in our app. This setup makes app the central hub of our React application, where the BMI calculator is displayed. For the full code and additional resources, visit www.projectchool.dev. Now that we've completed the code, it's time to run our BMI calculator. Follow these steps. Open your terminal. Type cd BMI calculator and hit enter to change to the directory where your project is located. In the terminal, type npm start and press enter. This command will start the development server, and your BMI calculator will open in your default web browser. Let's see our BMI calculator in action. I'll enter a weight of 70 kilograms and a height of 175 centimeters, then click Submit to calculate the BMI. And that's it. We've built a fully functional BMI calculator using React. This project helps us understand how to manage form state and perform calculations based on user input. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tutorials. Feel free to leave any questions or feedback in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.